The Belfast attacker. Where is he now? Which prison is he in? And what is happening with him? Because it has went quite quiet since he was remanded into custody. And I have been speaking with people in Northern Ireland, people who have friends and family inside the Ireland's or Northern Ireland prison system. So a quick recap, which I don't think people will need recapping of this. But there is a little bit of good news I'll get to in a second. But Hadi Alodid, 30-year-old Sudanese national who entered the UK through Dublin in 2023 and was granted legal refugee status, has been formally charged with the attempted murder of Stephen Ogilvie, which was absolutely horrific. Anybody who's seen the video where this absolute monster of a man was trying to fucking behead poor Stephen in the street. Stephen, who also has learning difficulties and autism. And that monster hacked away at him and tried to behead him in the street. Luckily, he was saved by passers-by. They didn't just stand there with their phones out filming. They actually took matters into their own hands. And luckily, one of the lads or one of the men had a paddleboard or something of the sort. Not a paddleboard, but he had something that was used as a stick to fend off the attacker and eventually save Stephen's life. But Stephen is out of the ICU, thankfully, and he is on the road to recovery, although he will be left with some horrific injuries and he is still unable to talk fully, but hopefully he does make a full or to the fullest recovery that he actually can. And the person that I've been speaking to in Northern Ireland, who has a brother in the prison, which I will pronounce right this time, people, inside of HMP Maghaberry, because I was saying Magberry, but it's pronounced, I do believe, Maghaberry. He has a brother who was inside of HMP Maghaberry serving a life sentence, and he has given us a little bit info and a bit of a rundown on what is going on inside the prison and where he is actually situated. But this attack that left Stephen in such a mess, there was photos circulating, and this said person, I'll not reveal who it is because he wants to remain anonymous. This person who has been giving us a bit information about inside the prison and a bit more information about what happened with the attack, etc. He told me that this picture that was circulating that somebody had sent me, which the majority of you will probably have seen it because when I did mention it in the last video I'd done about this Belfast attacker, I mentioned about the photo and a lot of people did go and have a look for themselves to see if they could find it. And the info coming from Northern Ireland is that that picture was not of Stephen. It was actually a picture of a drug dealer who had actually been attacked. Now, I'm not sure the background to it, why he was attacked or whatever, but that was who that photo was of, and it wasn't of Stephen. So, the Belfast attacker is on the hospital wing inside of HMP Maghaberry, because HMP Maghaberry is a maximum security prison, the only maximum security prison in Northern Ireland, which can house and facilitate these types of offenders. But that prison is a very violent prison, just as the high security prisons are in England. They are full of very serious, dangerous men, murderers and terrorists of the such. Although it did say, or they did try to say, that this wasn't a terrorist-related offence. They came on straight away to say that. So there was no more unrest. Also, there was no unrest. But as we all know, there was a lot of unrest inside of Belfast. A lot of houses getting burnt down, a lot of protesting in the streets, a lot of families getting moved and shifted, and a lot of migrants and immigrants all getting the backlash from this. So I did ask this said person who I was been getting the info of, has it calmed down? It has calmed down a bit, but there is still a lot of tensions going on, and a lot of the migrants, more so the illegal migrants that are there, are trying to flee the country as they did from their last countries. It's a war-torn country, get us out of here. They're shifting the fuckers into England now, these illegal migrants, instead of sending them back where they came from, because guess what? They are illegal. If you enter a country illegally, what happens? You should be sent straight back. All of the countries, the majority of countries, if you enter the country illegally, you will be remanded. You will be put in a detention centre, but not in the UK. You'll be given a hotel, but that's another story. But he's got a hotel for a very long time, and the hospital wing which is facilitating him is obviously because after committing such an offence like this in the street, then when he was taken to hospital, he's threatened to kill the hospital staff. They will have put him in there because of the unrest as well. There will have been nowhere else that he would have been safe inside of that prison. Because Maghaberry has a lot of different wings, and some of them are housed for the IRA. They've got their own wings. The UDF, the UDA, they have their own wings, all separate wings. Obviously, for obvious reasons, they can't mix them together. But it didn't matter which wing this monster went on, he would be getting it, or he will, if he does eventually go on. So even on the protection wings, I think there's only one protection wing. From what I heard, I didn't ask that specific question, but he did say the protection wing inside of Maghaberry. So on that protection wing, there will be normal location lads who are either rivals or have got rivals in there. They've put themselves down there for their own protection. And if they came across Allo did, what do you think would happen? Allo did would be Allo gone. Allo gone and done and forgotten about. But they've put him in the hospital wing to keep him safe and to stop any unrest inside the prison. But for the first few days that he was actually remanded into a high security prison, nobody inside of Maghaberry, apart from a small select number of screws, knew he was actually in the prison. They kept it that quiet because they didn't want any unrest inside of a maximum security prison. So they kept it quiet. They thought, right, if we take him in quietly, not let anybody know or any prisoners know that he's in the prison, we'll not have any unrest because of the riots and what was going on in Belfast. You could quite imagine if the lads inside of Maghaberry couldn't get their hands on him, they would be fucking smashing the prison up, doing their nuts in, trying to get to him because of the protection that they've got him under. But like I've said, and I'll reiterate, they've had to put him on the hospital wing because he'll be getting treated to see what is the matter with him. See if he's got any mental issues. He will be getting assessed. And because of political reasons and human rights reasons, even though he shouldn't have any human rights whatsoever after violating a human such as that inside of another country that you've entered illegally, human rights should be non-existent. But they wouldn't have put him straight in segregation because of his human rights. They didn't want to violate his human rights, even though he violated poor Stephen's human rights by trying to behead him inside of his own fucking country. He had no human rights, should I say. But now he's in prison. They need to keep his human rights above board because it's so high profile. They're scared in case he gets a UN solicitor, a UN barrister representative involved with the case, and they'll say, my client hasn't been treated appropriately inside of your prison. So the prison officials will be doing everything they can to keep him protected because he's so high profile. If he gets attacked, they will come under scrutiny. Why was he attacked? Why do you think the whole of the fucking UK and Northern Ireland, and Ireland for that matter, want to get some of his, I'll not say it actually, I need to be professional, want to act out prison justice? That's the easiest and best way that I can see it on here. You all know exactly what the citizens want to do to him. Never mind the prisoners. But prison justice. But the prison staff and the prison authorities have got a duty of care because they don't want to be on the chopping block. So they're keeping him in the hospital wing. He should be put in segregation. He should be kept on 24-hour bang up. If it's for his own safety, keep him in there. Turn the lights out. Leave him in a dark dungeon until he begs to be returned to Sudan, where his sick ideology and sick mindset has come from. And these individuals that enter the countries illegally bring that ideology and that upbringing into the country where they then get asylum. And then they do these sick, depraved acts. But the boys inside of HMP Maghaberry are waiting for him. But I do bet any money, once he is sentenced for the attempted murder, he's up in court on July the 8th. He's up in court. But this is just Belfast Magistrates Court. That's his next court hearing. And obviously it's a bail hearing again because he's officially denied bail. And he has to go back to the Magistrates Court, even though you would think it was straight to the Crown Court. But he has to go back to Magistrates Court to get further remanded, and the magistrates will refer it to Belfast Crown Court. But once it's at Crown Court, obviously he's going to take it to trial because it's an attempted murder. He'll want to try and get the charges down to a Section 18, if that's what it is in Northern Ireland. I'm sure it's the same as what it is over in England and the UK. He will try and get lesser charges, which he will not. Anybody on the jury that watches that video of him hacking away at Stephen will return no other verdict than guilty. That man is guilty as charged. But like I've said, he'll try and get away with a lesser sentence for a lesser serious offence. Section 18, grievous bodily harm with intent. Or he'll go down the mental health route and try and get off with diminished responsibility. But whatever happens, he's going to get a massive sentence, or he should do. But for political reasons and because of who he is, he might get a little puny, shitty sentence, but I hope not. I hope he gets a sentence that he deserves, and I hope he gets deported as soon as that sentence is finished and chucked in a Sudanese prison. That would be justice. Getting put into prison in Sudan, that would be proper justice, because them prisons over there are brutal, and you would not want to be in one of those prisons. But once he is sentenced, I wouldn't put it past the authorities to take him out of Maghaberry and place him in one of the high security prisons inside of England, where he would be more fitting, because there is a lot of individuals like him inside the high security prisons inside of England. So they will probably want to put him there where he'll probably be able to manage him more, and he's not going to be at much of a risk. Even though he will be, that's what the authorities will be wanting to do. But I just wanted to come on and bring you that, people, because there is a few people been asking us, can you do an update on him? Some have actually heard he's on the hospital wing, and some have said, is it true? He's been hospitalised and he's on the hospital wing inside of HMP Maghaberry. But he's in the hospital wing, but it's not because he's been attacked. it's because it's the safest place to keep him, and obviously he'll probably be undergoing assessments coming up for his court appearances. But I'm going to leave that one there for now, people. Hopefully you are still enjoying the content. And if you are, remember to comment, like, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss another video. Stay safe, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.